I never thought love could feel like this. You know, that kind of love that makes your chest tighten, where just seeing their name pop up on your phone is enough to make your whole day brighter. That was me. That was us. Or at least, that's what I believed, until the night everything changed. Her laugh, her smile, the way she'd playfully nudge me whenever I said something corny. It felt like I'd finally found my person. We had plans, big ones. Late-night talks about the future, promises we whispered under the stars. She'd say, "I'm not going anywhere," and I believed her with every fiber of my being. But the truth is, people can leave even when they swear they never will. It didn't happen overnight. Looking back, there were signs, little cracks in the perfect picture I kept holding on to. Fewer texts during the day, a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, and a strange distance I couldn't put my finger on. Still, I brushed it off. I told myself she was just stressed, maybe tired. I held on tighter, thinking love alone could fix whatever was slipping away. But love isn't always enough. I still remember the moment she left. It wasn't loud or dramatic. No screaming, no tears. Just silence. She stood there, suitcase by her side, and said words that still echo in my head. "I don't think I can do this anymore." And just like that, the person who felt like my whole world walked out of it. The days after were a blur. I'd stare at my phone, hoping for a message that never came. Every place reminded me of her. Our favorite coffee shop, the park bench where we'd carved our initials, even the quiet streets we used to walk hand in hand. It's crazy how someone can leave, but their presence lingers like a shadow that refuses to fade. And just when I thought heartbreak was the only thing I had left, something happened, something I never expected. Her sister. She wasn't supposed to be part of my story, not like that. We'd always been friendly, sure, but she was just her sister. The girl who tagged along sometimes, who rolled her eyes at our inside jokes, who teased us like siblings do. But in the middle of my loneliness, in the middle of my brokenness, she showed up in ways her sister never did. She listened when no one else would. She noticed the things I tried to hide, the way my smile didn't reach my eyes, the silence in my voice when I said, "I'm fine." And the more time we spent together, the more I felt something shift inside me. Something I didn't want to admit. Something I wasn't sure I should even feel. Because how do you move on when the person helping you pick up the pieces is the sister of the one who broke you? And that's when things got complicated. Before everything turned upside down, things seemed almost perfect. I met her. Let's call her Emily, during my sophomore year in college. She was the type of girl who didn't just walk into a room. She owned it without even trying. The kind of person everyone wanted to be around because her energy was contagious. When she laughed, people turned their heads, not just because it was loud, but because it was real. I was just some guy sitting in the back of class, trying to get through lectures without falling asleep. And then she sat next to me. She asked to borrow a pen, simple as that. But that one moment, that small smile she gave me, was enough to spark something I didn't even know I was missing. Fast forward a few months, and we were inseparable. Study sessions turned into late-night drives. Coffee runs became long walks where we'd talk about everything. Our dreams, our fears, the kind of life we wanted years from now. She had this way of making me feel like I mattered, like I was enough. And when she said, "I love you," for the first time, I believed it was forever. But forever has a way of slipping through your fingers. It wasn't like she stopped caring all at once. It was gradual. Little changes I tried not to see. A text left on read. A canceled date she didn't reschedule. The way her hugs felt shorter, colder. I kept telling myself, she's just busy, she'll come around. I thought love meant holding on tighter when things got rough. But sometimes holding on is what makes people slip further away. And then there was her sister. Let's call her Lena. She was younger, just a year behind us, but completely different from Emily. Where Emily was outgoing and bold, Lena was quieter, more observant. She had this dry humor that would sneak up on you, making you laugh when you least expected it. She wasn't someone I thought much about back then, just the sister who rolled her eyes when we kissed in front of her, or the one who tagged along to the movies sometimes and stole half the popcorn. But after Emily left, Lena started showing up in ways I couldn't ignore. At first, it was small things, checking in to see how I was holding up, sending me a random meme just to make me smile. Then it became late-night talks, eerily similar to the ones I used to have with Emily. Except this time, it felt different, more grounded, more real. The strange part? She seemed to understand my heartbreak better than anyone else. Almost too well. And when she looked at me, there was something in her eyes I hadn't noticed before, something that scared me, because I felt it pulling me in. But how could I let myself fall when I was still carrying the weight of the love that left me? What if moving forward meant crossing a line that could never be uncrossed? The more time I spent with Lena, the more conflicted I became. Part of me was grateful. She was there when no one else was. She made the silence in my apartment less heavy, the memories of Emily less crushing. But every time I laughed at one of her sarcastic jokes or found myself lost in her eyes, guilt came crashing down like a wave I couldn't escape. Because Lena wasn't just anyone. She was Emily's sister. And no matter how much I tried to convince myself it was innocent, that we were just two people leaning on each other during a rough time, deep down, I knew it wasn't that simple. There were nights I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, asking myself the same questions over and over. Was I betraying Emily? Or was Emily the one who betrayed me by walking away? Lena never pushed, but she didn't have to. Her presence was enough to stir up feelings I wasn't ready to face. Sometimes I'd catch her looking at me, and it wasn't the look of pity or sympathy. It was something deeper, something unspoken. And when our hands brushed accidentally, the electricity that shot through me was undeniable. I told myself to pull back, to set boundaries. But then one evening, she showed up at my door with takeout and a smile, saying, "You looked like you needed company." And in that moment, I realized how much I didn't want her to leave. That scared me more than anything. Because what if Emily came back? What if this was just a temporary bandage for a wound that hadn't healed? And even worse, what if Lena felt more for me than I was ready to admit? The tension between us kept building, thicker with every conversation, every shared silence. Until one night, it broke. We were sitting on the couch, a movie playing in the background, neither of us really watching. She turned to me, her voice softer than I'd ever heard it. "You know, I don't think she ever deserved you." My heart stopped, and before I could even process what she meant, she leaned in, so close I could feel her breath on my skin. Was she really about to? That moment on the couch felt like time had stopped. Lena was so close I could see the tiny freckles on her cheeks, the way her eyes searched mine as if she was waiting for permission. My heart pounded so hard I swore she could hear it. 1,000 thoughts collided in my head at once. Memories of Emily, the promises we made, the night she walked away, the guilt, the anger, the loneliness. And then, this new feeling. Something raw, something terrifying. I pulled back, just slightly, enough to break the closeness without shattering it completely. "Lena, we can't," I whispered, though my voice shook as if even I didn't believe the words. She leaned back slowly, but she didn't look embarrassed. If anything, her eyes softened. "I know," she said quietly, "but don't pretend you don't feel it too." Her words pierced me deeper than I expected. Because she was right. I did feel it. And denying it didn't make it go away, it only made it stronger. From that night forward, everything changed between us. Every glance lasted too long. Every word carried weight. Even silence was heavy, filled with things neither of us dared to say. I tried to distract myself. Work, friends, anything. But I always found myself circling back to her. To the way she made me feel seen when I was invisible, heard when I had no words. But with every step closer I took, the guilt grew louder. What if Emily found out? What if this destroyed not just my chance at love, but their entire family? And then came the text. One night, just as Lena left my place after another innocent evening of takeout and laughter, my phone buzzed. I picked it up, expecting some late-night meme from her, but instead, it was Emily. After weeks of silence, there it was. "Hey, can we talk?" My stomach dropped. Talk? About what? Did she regret leaving? Did she want me back? Or was she about to shatter me all over again? I didn't respond right away. Instead, I stared at the screen, torn between the past and the present, between the girl who had broken my heart and the sister who was unknowingly putting it back together. The days that followed were torture. Emily kept reaching out, short messages that dangled like bait. "I miss you. I've been thinking about us." And while I hesitated, Lena kept showing up, unknowingly filling the cracks Emily had left behind. The tension was unbearable. I couldn't keep both worlds colliding like this. Something had to give. And then, the inevitable happened. Emily told me she was coming back to town. She wanted to meet. The same night. Lena texted me too. Can we talk? There's something I need to tell you. Two sisters. Two truths. Two hearts colliding with mine. And I had no idea which way to turn. The night both sisters wanted to talk, I felt like my world was closing in. Emily hadn't even arrived yet, but the thought of facing her after everything left me restless. And then Lena showed up first. She looked nervous, fidgeting with her sleeves. I braced myself for some confession of feelings, something I already felt brewing. But what she said shattered me in a completely different way. I need to tell you the truth, she whispered. Emily didn't just leave. She left because of me. My chest tightened. What do you mean? She looked at me, her eyes wet but unflinching. Before she walked away, she found out that I was in love with you. I thought I hid it, but she knew. She knew before even I did. That's why she left. It wasn't just about her. It was about us. The ground felt like it tilted beneath me. All this time, I thought Emily's silence was abandonment, that she'd simply stopped loving me. But now, the truth was more complicated, more twisted. Because the girl who broke my heart might have done it to protect her sister. And now, both of them were standing at my door. When I opened the door that night, the air was so thick with tension it felt hard to breathe. Emily stood there, suitcase by her side like déjà vu, while Lena lingered just a few steps behind, her face pale. Two sisters. Two truths. And me, stuck in the middle of a storm I never asked for. Emily's eyes locked onto mine. Can we talk alone? She asked, her voice trembling. I glanced back at Lena, torn. But Lena shook her head. No, he deserves to hear everything, with both of us here. And then, everything spilled out. Emily admitted she had left because she couldn't handle the growing distance between us, and because she'd seen the way Lena looked at me. I thought leaving would make it easier, Emily whispered. But all it did was break us all. Lena's voice cracked. I never wanted to hurt you, Emily. I tried to bury it, but the more time I spent around him, the harder it got. The room pulsed with silence, three hearts colliding, none of us knowing which one would shatter first. Finally, Emily looked at me, eyes full of pain and something else, resignation. So who do you choose? My mouth went dry. I'd spent weeks agonizing over this moment, but when it finally came, the answer felt both impossible and inevitable. My heart pulled one way, my guilt pulled another. And then I realized the truth. I can't choose either of you, I said, my voice steady but heavy. Because this isn't just about love anymore. It's about trust. And right now, none of us have that. Emily's face crumbled. Lena's eyes filled with tears. But before either of them could speak, Emily whispered one last sentence that flipped everything upside down again. You don't have to choose me. But you should know, Lena isn't the only one who's been keeping secrets. Her words hung in the air like thunder before a storm. Lena isn't the only one who's been keeping secrets. My heart sank, my mind racing through every possibility. Emily took a shaky breath. I didn't just leave because of Lena. I left because I wasn't sure I loved you the way I thought I did. I cared about you, deeply, but I felt something slipping inside me long before Lena. And instead of being honest, I ran. Her confession cut deeper than I expected, but there was something freeing in her honesty. For the first time, I realized my pain wasn't just about being abandoned. It was about holding on to a version of us that didn't exist anymore. Lena stepped forward, tears streaking her cheeks. So what happens now? I looked at both of them, two sisters carrying different pieces of my heart, and for once, I didn't feel anger or confusion. I just felt tired. Tired of pretending love had to fit into neat boxes. Tired of holding on to people who were already letting go. I think what happens now, I said softly, is we stop trying to fix something that was never meant to be broken in the first place. Emily nodded slowly, a faint smile tugging at her lips, sad, but relieved. Maybe that's the first honest thing we've said to each other in a long time. And Lena, she didn't argue. She didn't push. She just whispered, I only wanted you to be happy, even if it wasn't with me. That night, there were no dramatic goodbyes, no slammed doors. Just quiet understanding. Emily left first, suitcase rolling behind her, not with anger, but with closure. Lena lingered a moment longer, giving me one last look that held both longing and acceptance. Then she walked away too. For weeks after, I replayed that night in my mind. The chaos, the confessions, the weight of choosing not to choose. But somewhere in the silence that followed, I found clarity. Love isn't always about endings that fit perfectly or stories that tie themselves neatly together. Sometimes love teaches us through loss, through the choices we don't make. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is let go before you destroy yourself and others with what you're holding on to. Months later, I ran into Emily again. She seemed lighter, happier, like she'd found herself again. We shared a small smile, no bitterness, just gratitude for what we once had. As for Lena, we still talk sometimes. Not as lovers, not even as possibilities, but as two people who went through something complicated and came out stronger. And me? I finally learned that my heart didn't belong to either of them. It belonged to me. Because sometimes the person you need most is the one you become after surviving it all.